High up in the misty mountains of Medellin, surrounded by green hills and clouds, there once stood a place that looked more like a luxury resort than a prison. It had peaceful views, fresh mountain air, and calm silence all around. But behind those walls lived one of the most feared men in history, Pablo Escobar. They called it La Catedral. But this wasn't really a prison. It was a palace built by Escobar himself. Inside, he enjoyed fine food, parties, and full control of his drug empire, even while locked up. So how did the world's most dangerous drug lord convince a government to let him build his own prison? Why would Colombia agree to such a deal? And what really happened inside those mysterious walls? Welcome to the Narco Files, where we uncover the true stories behind the world's most powerful criminals. If you love deep dives into real cartel history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Narco Files, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. The King of Medellin. In the 1980s, Pablo Escobar ruled the drug world like no one else. His Medellin cartel controlled almost 80% of the world's cocaine supply, spreading its reach across borders, politics, and even police forces. To some people, he was a monster who caused endless pain. To others, he was a Robin Hood figure who gave back to the poor. Escobar built schools, hospitals, and soccer fields. He handed out money to struggling families, earning loyalty from many. But behind the kind image was a man responsible for countless deaths: judges, politicians, journalists, and anyone who dared to challenge him. By the early 1990s, his violent empire had become impossible to ignore. The Colombian government, pushed by the United States, had no choice but to go after him. But Escobar had his own plan. He feared one thing above all: being sent to the US, where his power meant nothing. So, he made a deal that shocked the world. Escobar's clever deal with the government. Instead of facing an American prison, Pablo Escobar made a shocking offer. He would surrender, but only if he could stay in Colombia, inside a prison built his way. Surprisingly, the government agreed. They thought it was the perfect deal. Escobar behind bars, the violence ending, and peace returning. But Escobar had other plans. For him, it was a way to stay protected and still run his empire. He personally chose a quiet mountain spot near Medellin and named it La Catedral, or the Cathedral. But this wasn't a real prison. It was more like a luxury mansion with guards he controlled. Inside the prison walls, La Catedral didn't look like a real prison. It looked like a private resort. Pablo Escobar's cell was more like a five-star hotel room, with a king-sized bed covered in fine sheets, expensive furniture, and paintings worth thousands. Above his bed hung a ceramic Virgin Mary, and behind it sat a marble desk where he ran his drug empire. His mornings were calm, waking up late, brushing his teeth, and making sure he looked perfect. Even behind bars, Escobar lived like royalty. He had chefs, bodyguards, and secretaries. For him, prison wasn't punishment, it was comfort, a mansion in disguise. Every corner of La Catedral showed how much Escobar loved comfort and power. The kitchen looked like it belonged in a luxury hotel, filled with marble counters and top-quality appliances. His chef made rich Colombian breakfasts: rice, beef, eggs, arepas, and fried plantains, all served with a glass of milk. Escobar never ate alone. His closest men joined him at a large table surrounded by framed wanted posters of himself, which he treated like trophies. Even his men lived in style, with fancy rooms and portraits of Escobar on the walls, a reminder of who truly ruled La Catedral. More than a prison, a playground. La Catedral wasn't just a prison. It was Pablo Escobar's private playground. Behind the walls, he built 2 full-sized soccer fields where he often played with famous athletes. One day, even legends like Diego Maradona and Colombian goalkeeper René Higuita visited to play a friendly match under bright lights that lit up the whole mountain. Escobar, of course, scored a few goals himself. Inside, he had a huge casino with poker tables, pool games, and slot machines, a place where his men drank, gambled, and celebrated. In one corner stood an altar to Saint Michael, where Escobar prayed for protection, believing God was on his side. Ironically, the casino had metal bars, not for security, but for decoration. Mocking the system meant to punish him. Escobar's message was clear. Even in prison, he was still untouchable, still in control of everything around him. Nights of music, women, and excess. When night fell, La Catedral turned into a party palace. Around 7 p.m., the quiet mountain prison came alive with music, laughter, and the smell of expensive whiskey and cigars. Escobar's casino hall became the center of it all, filled with flashing lights, loud music, and guests from every corner of Medellin. Musicians, models, politicians, and even athletes were invited to join the fun. People danced, toasted, and celebrated late into the night, pretending that everything was normal. Escobar was often the happiest man in the room, smiling and charming everyone around him. But beneath that smile was danger. His mood could switch in an instant. One wrong word or look could lead to something dark. Everyone there knew they were partying in a palace built on fear. La Catedral wasn't just a prison or a home. It was a kingdom ruled by chaos and control. The dark side of La Catedral. Even though La Catedral looked beautiful on the outside, it had a dark and frightening secret. A hidden torture room deep inside its walls. It was the place where people went in and never came out. One day, Escobar called 2 of his top men, Fernando Galeano and Gerardo Moncada, to the prison. He accused them of stealing $500,000 each. Inside that cold room, Escobar faced them with anger and no mercy. They tried to defend themselves, but he had already made his decision. That night, both men were killed, and their bodies were never found. News of their deaths spread quickly, even shocking his closest allies. The Colombian government could no longer deny the truth. Escobar was still running his empire from inside his so-called prison. A prison built for escape. La Catedral wasn't just a luxury hideout. It was smartly designed for safety. Escobar knew the mountains well. He had grown up there. From his window, he could look through a telescope and see his family's house below. His daughter, Manuela, even had a big dollhouse near the compound where she played during visits. The high mountain location gave Escobar a clear view of anyone approaching, police, soldiers, or rivals. And if trouble ever got too close, he had secret escape routes hidden all around the prison. For Escobar, La Catedral wasn't a cell. It was his fortress. The beginning of the end. After the murders of Galeano and Moncada, the Colombian government finally realized they had lost control. The U.S. demanded action, warning that support would stop unless Escobar was moved to a real prison. So, in July 1992, officials planned to transfer him. But Escobar was always one step ahead. The night before the move, he gathered his loyal men, took what he needed, and slipped away through a hole in the fence. When soldiers arrived the next morning, La Catedral was silent, completely empty. The world's most feared drug lord had escaped his own prison after serving just 13 months. The final chase. After his escape, Pablo Escobar became the most wanted man in the world. The Colombian police, US DEA, and even rival cartels were all after him. He kept moving, hiding in small apartments, remote farms, and safe houses, always one step ahead, but never truly free. His empire began to fall apart. Friends betrayed him, money ran out, and his family lived in fear, constantly running. Then, on December 2, 1993, the hunt ended. Police found him hiding in Medellin. A shootout broke out on a rooftop, and Escobar tried to flee. But a single bullet ended it all. The man who once ruled Colombia's underworld died at just 44 years old. The fall of La Catedral. After Escobar's death, La Catedral quickly fell into chaos. Looters rushed up the mountain, hoping to find the hidden millions he was rumored to have left behind. They smashed walls, dug up floors, and stripped the place bare. The luxury prison that once shined with wealth was soon nothing but broken stone and silence. By the late 1990s, all that remained were ruins. Later, the Colombian government rebuilt it into a monastery and a home for elderly people, turning a symbol of greed into one of peace. Still, locals say the mountain feels strange at night, as if the air itself remembers the dark secrets buried within La Catedral. The illusion of power. La Catedral tells a powerful story about how pride and greed can destroy even the strongest man. Pablo Escobar believed money could buy safety, loyalty, and control. For a while, it seemed like it worked. He built a prison that felt more like a palace and lived like a king. But power built on fear never lasts forever. The walls he built to protect himself became the walls that trapped him. His empire of gold and guns eventually fell apart, and in the end, not even his wealth or fame could save him from the one thing no one can escape: the truth. The legacy of La Catedral. Today, the site of La Catedral is peaceful, a complete contrast to what it once was. Nuns now care for the elderly, and the sound of chapel bells replaces the echo of gunfire and chaos. For Colombians, this place isn't just a memory. It's a lesson carved into history. It reminds everyone of a time when one man's greed and power grew larger than the law itself. Escobar's prison was meant to humble him, but it became a symbol of his pride. Yet in the end, time caught up with him, proving that no one, not even Escobar, is untouchable. In the end, La Catedral wasn't Pablo Escobar's real prison. It was his ego. His hunger for power trapped him long before the walls did. He built his own cage, trying to rule from behind bars, but no one escapes the truth forever. Every empire built on fear eventually falls. And today, La Catedral's ruins remind us that power never lasts. So, what can we learn from his fall? Can control truly protect a man from himself? This is the Narco Files, uncovering the truth behind power and greed. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more real cartel stories.